Hello. I just realized I don't have my shirt on. Hmm. Well, I seem to be doing that a lot. Anyway, this is Cabin Thomas, and I'm going to be taping myself every day. And I'm doing that to observe myself, to see if I can become a better actor, because I haven't been getting very much work. And I think a lot of it, not very much work, I haven't been getting any work. I haven't been hired for a single gig in 14 months. Um, and I think a lot of that has to do with I don't have a good presentation. Or maybe I'm not talented enough. Bottom line is, I need to do things to get better. And so, one of the things I think I was very impressed with when I read about was Heath Ledger constantly um, recorded himself, constantly, so that he understood exactly how the camera works. I don't do anything like that. And if I want to be performing for the camera, I need to know how this thing here can be my friend and not my enemy. Because I've seen uglier people than me performing, I've seen prettier people than me performing less. So I think it's those people who have an understanding of how the camera works and takes advantage of those things that they do well, that are able to communicate with the camera. I think that's the way to go. So, I'm going to read poetry, I'm going to read scripts, I'm going to read this and that and the other thing, and hopefully over time I'll become a better actor. What do you think? Alright, I was just about to clean out my ear, and I just think that's not a good idea to do on camera. So, and if you want to critique, you want to say yuck, or you want to say cool, would you do me a favor and add some constructive something? Because yuck doesn't quite. Yuck just, I hear yuck and I'd like to know why yuck, because maybe I can do something. And if you say something like blow your head off, not so helpful. That's hateful. Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater, nigga. Don't be a hater. Alright, so, anyway, here we rock and roll. What do you say? I'm going to start with some poetry. I'm actually going to read from the Writer's Almanac, which is a wonderful show, short little thing that's done on National Public Radio by Mr. Garrison Keillor, who is the creator of Prairie Home Companion. I like him. I like what he does, so let me see if I can work on my voice and work on some of my technique for film. Day one. This is Sunday, January 15th, 2012. This is the Writer's Almanac. And let's start with a few important events on this particular day. The coronation of Queen Elizabeth I took place on this date in 1559. She had officially become queen 2 months before, upon the death of her half-sister Mary Tudor. She was told of Mary's death at the Palace of Hatfield, and legend has it that she was sitting under an oak tree at the time and quoted the 118th Psalm, which says, "It is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes." "Be ye well assured, I will stand your good queen," she said to her subjects as she emerged from the abbey, holding aloft the orb and the scepter of state. On this day, the French playwright, actor, and manager Molière was baptized in Paris in 1622. He was born Jean-Baptiste Poquelin to a wealthy family. His father was upholsterer to the king, and his father wanted him to become a lawyer, but instead Poquelin took up with a theatrical family when he was 21. They formed a troupe and put on comedies, and he adopted the stage name Molière. Theatrical life wasn't as lucrative as his law career, sadly. After serving time in debtor's prison, could you imagine the United States having a debtor's prison? I think the whole United States would have to go in, because we're like seriously in debt. I guess we haven't defaulted. Thank God we don't have a debtor's prison. Oh, what a gross idea. After serving time in debtor's prison, Molière and his company left Paris to tour the provinces for 13 years. They returned to Paris triumphant in 1658 after impressing the king's brother with their performance of The Amorous Doctor. Although he poked fun at the peasant and bourgeois classes, he was careful to leave the church and the monarchy alone. As a result, he never ran into trouble. He enjoyed the patronage of Louis XIV, who was the godfather of Moliere's first son, and he always had work. Let's see. On this day, the British Museum opened to the public in 1759. It was located in the Bloomsbury district of London, where I think it is to this day. The museum was housed in a mansion. Admission was free and by appointment only to all studious and curious persons. Anthony Trollope once said, "When a man wants to write a book full of unassailable facts, he visits the British Museum." It is the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 1929, who was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He was only 26 when he was elected to lead the Montgomery Improvement Association, the body that organized the Montgomery boycotts in 1955. After the success of the boycotts, he formed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which gave him a national platform for his mission to end segregation. Here's my question to you, and this is what I want to do a television show on. Would Dr. Martin Luther King be proud of us right now? Man gave his life for segregation. If he watched television right now and saw these white shows with one token black person and then black shows with one token white person, when the shows could all be colorful, you think he'd be proud of that? We've had a president. We have a president who's a man of color. That's cool. How many senators do we have? How many governors do we have? How many CEOs of Fortune 500 companies? How many people who could influence how we behave, how we think? How many people are in control who are of color at this point in time? Would he be proud? It'd be a great question to ask a whole bunch of people like Oprah and like David Duke of the National Association to Advance White People. I'd be curious to hear what he has to say. To ask political leaders, to ask people on the street, to ask you, to ask teachers, historians, politicians, television, movie personalities, just be sports figures, young, old, rich, poor. It'd be interesting. Would you be proud of us? I'd love to do a show on that. He wrote, this is Dr. Martin Luther King. He wrote, "Just as Socrates felt that it was necessary to create a tension in the mind so that individuals could rise from the bondage of myths and half-truths to the unfettered realm of creative analysis and objective appraisal, so must we see the need for non-violent gadflies to create the kind of tension in society that will help men rise from the dark depth of prejudice and racism to the majestic heights of understanding and brotherhood." That's the, I just, don't get me wrong, man. I mean, God bless him. That's a damn long sentence. That's a long sentence of one comma. One comma. You know, when you're doing something like that, I swear you're just like, golly, that's intense. God bless you, Dr. King. It was 3 years ago today, in 2009, that Chesley Burnett Sully Sullenberger successfully landed a passenger jet in the Hudson River. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 had taken off from New York's LaGuardia Airport en route to Charlotte when it ran into a flock of Canada geese near the George Washington Bridge. Both engines of the Airbus A320 were disabled, and the left engine caught fire. Sullenberger warned the passengers to brace for impact and then made a water landing near the USS Intrepid Museum, adjacent Midtown Manhattan. Do you realize how difficult what he did was? He put a plane that was on fire, he landed it on the water. and everybody survived. All 155 passengers and crew survived. Sullenberger was the last to exit and he did so after checking the cabin and retrieving the logbook. Okay. Can you imagine? Balls of steel. Clang, clang, clang. Yeah, let's just put this thing down on. Let's put it in the Hudson. We just get birds in the plane, birds in the engines on fire. No place to land. Big old thing of water here. Let's just put it down here. Ah, yes. Balls of steel. Balls of steel. Thank you for flying, U.S. Airways. Water taxi will be here in just a minute. Good God, amazing. All right. The poetry for today by Miss Susan Donnelly, called The Bloody Mary. Susan Donnelly, just to let you know, was born in 1939. She's of Irish-American heritage. She was born in Waltham, Massachusetts, and raised in Brookline. She earned a BA in English from Mount Holyoke College in South Hadley, Massachusetts. She has poetry collections. Let's see, Eve Names the Animals in 1985, and the winner of the Samuel French Morris Prize, Transit, in 2001, amongst other things. Bloody Mary by Susan Donnelly. Sunday in late December calls for one, with a celery stalk and faint taste of Worcestershire, to be sipped while eating poached egg and corned beef hash in a hotel dining room with someone you love. Touch the hairs at his wrist as the warmth endorses all bed-lingering, non-church going. It's the solstice, remember, when your frugal father would hand around dollar bills so the day would last longer. Stir ice into the rich red and consider such Celtic rituals as you watch beyond the tall windows, pilgrims traveling the paths past snow-fringed trees in the park. The Bloody Mary, written by Susan Donnelly, from Capture the Flag, Iris Press, 2009. Well, that is the Writer's Almanac for Sunday, January 15th, 2012, sponsored by the Poetry Foundation. The host was Garrison Keeler, with writers Betsy Allister, Priscilla Kinter, Heather McPherson, Holly Vanderhaar. The technical director was Thomas Swedger. The engineer, Noah Smith. The coordinator was Nick Vetter, and permissions were received by Kathy Roach, who I believe I know who that is. She's a viola player from way back when. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.